WNST, Towson, Baltimore time around here, whether it's the Orioles getting ready for opening day now, 2 weeks out. We're going to have head coach Barry Trotz joining us to swab on behalf of the Bone Marrow Registry and our partners at Freedmont Mortgage coming up on said opening day, which is the 29th, which is Thursday, March 29th. I know it's a little crazy, but we're going to talk some hockey that night as well, and certainly the hardwoods and March Madness and UMBC this week has gotten all of us excited around here, but this used to be the week when the National Football League's tampering and anti-tampering happened, the week when a Mike Pettin and a Rex Ryan would be jumping a fence over at Bart Scott's house and being chased by his dog to sign him at 12:01. And instead, we just kind of do whatever we want in the National Football League now. The Cleveland Browns acquired half a team last week. This guy and I sat 10 feet apart for the better part of 3 days at the Combine, and I sort of liked Daryl Ruiter, but you and I didn't even get a word in, did we? The 3 days in Indianapolis, I don't think we even spoke, dude, did we?
No, actually we didn't. I thought you were mad at me.
No, I mean, other than being from Cleveland, why would I be mad at you? I mean, I either had a headset on or you had a headset on, and you're hustling guests, and you guys are hustling all these draft picks because, like, you have so many of them. And, meantime, we're just sort of waiting on Ozzie to show up. So it was a little hazy, lazy thing for us. And clearly in the aftermath, there was a lot of shenanigans going on out in Indianapolis with the Cleveland Browns, right?
Yeah, and obviously so, considering what John Dorsey's already been able to do and what he's still working on as the general manager, trying to reshape a team that couldn't win a football game last year.
Well, he's Trader Dorsey at this point, right? So, let's go through all of this. You're the beat reporter, of course, out there in Cleveland at The Fan, and you can find him at Right or Wrong Fan out on Twitter as well, and nobody covers the Cleveland Browns better than you. So, your phone starts ringing off the hook. The text starts going around Thursday and Friday and into the weekend. It was a hell of a weekend for a haul for the Browns, and none of this is even sort of official for a couple of days. But, your thoughts on these transactions and maneuvers, certainly, I don't want to say un-Brownsian, but I think for the league, the amount of trades and maneuverings, this is good and fresh for the National Football League, I think.
Yeah, I think so, too. I mean, typically you don't see the volume of trades that you'll see when free agency officially opens up and the new league year begins this week. But, I think John Dorsey realized that selling free agents on coming to Cleveland was going to be a tall task and very difficult. And so by making these trades, there's no recruiting or convincing that has to go on. So that's the first point. Jarvis Landry, I think, is a great pickup, slot receiver, possession receiver, catches the football every time it's thrown to him. The Browns certainly don't have anyone on their roster that can do that. So great.
Neither do the Ravens, by the way, but that's another story altogether.
Yeah, I really like the corner that they got, the Demarius Randall from Green Bay. Also gives Deshaun Kaiser an opportunity to go get a fresh start. The Browns kind of ruined him last year by throwing him to the Wolves as a 21-year-old. Now he can just go to Green Bay and sit behind Aaron Rodgers and kind of get his career back on track, which I have no doubt that he'll be able to do. But Randall's a good young physical receiver or cornerback / safety that will provide the Browns with some much-needed playmaking ability on the back end of their defense, which they had none of last year. And then Tyrod Taylor, I think, is a serviceable pickup to be that bridge quarterback. You're not really going to be able to convince a guy in free agency, hey, come to Cleveland, we'll pay you to play for a year, but then we're going to draft a guy that's going to take your job from you in a year from now. That's a tough sell. So you go out, you get Tyrod Taylor. Nothing special there. Possession-style quarterback, won't turn it over. Like 51 touchdowns and 16 interceptions over the last 3 years combined. That's what the Browns need. So 3 legitimate starters making the Cleveland Browns a much better football team.
The Landry thing's interesting because in the Ravens' case, that would have been a hell of a decision to be thinking about a $16 million cap number on him, right? But in certain places, and obviously Oakland had a lot of money a couple years ago, Jacksonville had a lot of money, Cleveland's had a lot of money, the 49ers and Richard Sherman sort of proved that, and Garoppolo as well, that when you have money it only exists because you stink so bad that you didn't draft any players that you even want to give a second contract to, and you're constantly on that hamster wheel of drafting first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, somewhere in there, somewhere in that 4 and 12 or below category. And Cleveland's been there forever. The Landry thing feels like a really natural thing for a guy that's going to make a lot of money that needs that situation. To your point, I don't know who's going to be throwing him the football, but there would be reason to be optimistic there just because of all the draft picks that Cleveland's amassed, right?
Yeah, and the great thing, too, is, two of these guys in Randall and Landry, they're going into their second NFL contracts now, so they're in the sweet spot of their careers. You're not talking about players that are in their 30s, in the twilight. These guys are in the prime of their careers, and that's what makes these moves by Dorsey all that more savvy. He's taking advantage of of situations. Miami didn't want to keep Landry around for pay him that kind of money, so the Browns were able to pounce and take advantage of that. Up in Green Bay with Mike Pettin taking over as the defensive coordinator, the way he likes his corners to play defense. Randall not really a fit there, so you're able to take advantage of that situation. Tyrod Taylor, not a big future in Buffalo. Browns don't need a guy, need a veteran for 5-6 years. You don't need to go out and sign Kirk Cousins. So boom, you pounce on that situation. And I can tell you, John Dorsey's not done either. There's a couple more moves that he's working on right now that should pop by week's end that will continue to reshape this football team, because he did not come to Cleveland with the thought that, hey, I'm taking a 5-year approach. You want to start winning some football games this fall. Not necessarily saying the Browns are a contender this year, but the days of them winning 1 to 3 football games a year are going to be coming to an end here.
Well, as far as the draft goes, and obviously Dorsey comes in and assesses needs throughout the roster. Right, there's a lot of cap space. There's a lot of draft powder in the keg there as well on that. And then he starts to assemble this thing. I would say if I'm a Browns fan, I'm thumbs up on everything so far. And then there comes the draft day, where there have been a lot of quarterbacks, who've come and gone and been burned up. And I don't need to go through Johnny Football, because you and I spent 2 or 3 years discussing Johnny Football on your watch. And, you just mentioned Mike Pettin cost him his job there, who's a pal of mine. And now we're 2 coaches further along the line and 2 different general managers further along the line. And these picks are sitting there. What's on the table? What are the thoughts about what direction to go? Because obviously everyone expects a quarterback out of this thing, right?
Yeah, nothing of what they've done will change their approach in April. And that's also kind of part of the genius of what John Dorsey's doing. He's not altering their plans. They're still probably going to take a quarterback with that first overall pick. And that number 4 sitting in their pocket, they can just take the best player that's available, or they can move out of that and really get a king's ransom to slide down a couple of spots and still get a good football player. He maintained the top 5 picks in his draft, even though he was able to add 3 starters. But they got to start cashing in. I mean, they traded Danny Shelton to the Patriots over the weekend, and that makes now from 2009 to 2015 not a single first-round pick out of 10 selections that were made over that period remain on the team.
And all top 10 picks, right? Every one of them, literally.
Yeah, well, most of them. There were a couple. Phil Taylor was a 21st overall pick, so was Alex Mack, but they started the day with top 10 picks, and then, after making some moves. But the bottom line is when you don't have first-round picks, and I'll tell you, Corey Coleman, their 2016 first-rounder, hopefully he's renting, because he's not long for the Cleveland Browns potentially here either. So, they've got to start finding some players that stick here, and especially in the top end of the draft. It's great having multiple first-round picks, but if the guys wash out in 2 to 3 years, then what's the point? And Dorsey's certainly change that.
Any thoughts about this period of time where the trades are happening and the Browns can be active when, let's be honest, the Tribe are plotting winning a World Series. The LeBrons are kind of stumbling and bumbling against the Lakers at this time. I know everybody's all lubed up about that Ohio State-South Dakota State matchup in March Madness as well, but the Buckeyes have been better there. But, for the Browns to try to get any traction being just so dreadfully awful, it's not bad for them to be winning some battles this time in the offseason. I know around here, the naysayers who are hating on the Ravens these days are saying, well, the Ravens are the worst team in the division now. I think that's a far cry from being accurate, and I've seen the Browns screw this up so many times and win off seasons. But part of this pre-tampering free agency period has created the last 2 weeks very, very active from the time I saw you in Indianapolis till now. It's only been 10 days, Daryl.
Yeah, and, the Browns are trying to change the narrative. They are very well aware of their reputation, not just of being a loser, but just of being incompetent. And the difficulties that trying to go out and recruit free agents and having to overpay them, too. I mean, if you're going to get guys to come to Cleveland, Ohio to play football, you're going to have to pay a premium dollar to make that happen because the Browns have been so bad for so long. But
yeah, we're familiar with that. We saw Lance Lynn sign with the Minnesota Twins, and we're like, well, why wouldn't he take $12 million to come to Baltimore? Because it would be $15 in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the reaction around the NFL to what the Browns were doing. I mean, it was all extremely positive for players around the league. It got their attention. They're like, whoa. The Cleveland Browns don't look like the bumbling, stumbling sack of losers that they've been for the last 20 years. I mean, they're making some moves. This is pretty impressive stuff that they're pulling off. So that begins the process of changing that narrative. And I think that sets John Dorsey up for when they're able to actually put pen to paper with some players to get them to come here. Because right now, the next priority for John Dorsey, aside from the draft, is to get some depth on this team, Nestor. They're pretty much set with most of their starters, but it is a very thin team, and there's very little talent behind the starters. You can make an argument that there isn't much talent in the starting lineup, but it's vastly improved after these trades, and so that's going to be his primary target here in free agency is trying to bring in some depth, some offensive line depth, a little defensive line depth, and some more receiver and secondary help too. So the narrative around the Browns is starting to turn in a much more positive direction. And to me, that's the first step to turning around a franchise is getting people around the league to believe that you actually finally might know what you're doing. And again, judging by that reaction I saw from players around the NFL when Dorsey was wheeling and dealing last Friday and Saturday, it caught their attention, and they were pretty impressed and positive about those moves.
Now let me get to something about Cleveland that's very important and near and dear to my heart. That's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're actually having the induction in Cleveland in a couple of weeks, and I went online to figure, must be in the basketball arena, and tickets must be a couple $100, and I was like, well, I love the Cars and Bon Jovi, and I have never been to one of these, and maybe I could steal a quick trip out to Cleveland. It would be fun. And then I see it's in like some hoity-toity thing. It's like $1,600 to go. I mean, Cleveland finally gets the induction, and they're not even allowing the people to come, the real people. I'm bummed out for you, Daryl.
Well, I think it's being held at Cleveland Public Hall.
It is, yes.
Which is a building that was built in the turn of the 20th century, early in the 1900s. It's one of the beautiful historic buildings, but it's also a very intimate venue. I'm with you. To me, that's the thing that they ought to have, like the Quicken Loans Arena or something like that. But the last time they had the inductions, it was held at Public Hall as well. So, it is a very
I say phooey on that
event, and I'm kind of with you. It's a little.
It's
bit
rock and roll, for crying out loud. It's about the people. It's of the people, by the people, for the people. Like the Browns are of the people, by the people, for the people. Hey, the schedule comes out soon. We are coming out to the land of Cleve. Ruiter, you need to mark it on your calendar. August 3rd, 4th, 5th. We are putting number 52 into the Hall of Fame down there in Canton. So we're spending the night in Cleveland. We're going to be at the Indians Athletics game on Friday night. We're touring the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on Saturday. So Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the morning, and then Ray Lewis induction at night. That's a perfect night in Northern Ohio for any Baltimorean.
Yeah, not bad. And hopefully 52 has the courtesy of mentioning the Cleveland Browns, because they were a big reason why he's going into the Hall of Fame.
I have the picture of Arthur B. Modell right here behind me. It always sits here on my video cam, YouTube, and our Facebook Live. So I'm sure we'll be mentioning Arthur Modell, which will bring a frown to your face, but a smile to mine. So,
well, he owned the Browns, so that's my point. I mean, the games that he used to have against the Cleveland Browns at their expense were incredible. I mean,
I saw a few of those, yes.
Yeah, so I think the Browns deserve a little credit. I think that pretty much from 1999 through, this year, I would say anyone from the AFC North that ends up in Canton, Ohio, from the Ravens, Steelers, or Bengals, a massive thank you to the Cleveland Browns is due, because a lot of players made their careers beating up on the Brownies twice.
Cleveland, that's why I love you. Daryl Ruiter, he is Right or Wrong Fan out on Twitter, as well as at 92.3 The Fan in the land of Cleve. Hey, you got basketball playoffs ahead. You got a baseball team. Ohio State's alive this weekend. You got plenty to be happy about. You got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the sun will shine at some point out there in Cleveland soon.
Well, I don't know about the basketball team right now. Things not going so well for LeBron and company, but baseball season starts in a month, and I'm happy about that.
It was a hell of a parade, Ruiter. I saw you in it. I saw the pictures. Don't pretend it didn't happen out there. You won, all right? Don't be like these people in Philadelphia and be miserable 4 weeks after you already won, you know? I've been dealing with that lately. Win, be happy, take the pictures, share the pictures, remember the memories, because it doesn't happen that often. It's hard to win, unless you're Golden State.
Hey, we have parades even when they lose, right?
Yeah, well, and that's, gives you a chance to drink and eat and be merry and festive and all that stuff. So I think this is the year for the Tribe, though. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I believe in the Indians this year. Okay?
Don't jinx them.
I'm leaving it alone. We're going to be there in early August. I expect them to be in first place when we arrive.
I'm confident they'll win the division. I just the Yankees and Astros bother me.
They bother me too, but we're going to be in last place. Around here, we call that fifth place. We're not allowed to call it last place, but we're going to be in fifth place here in the American League East. Daryl, be well, man. I'm sorry we didn't catch up in Indianapolis. I feel bad. Sometimes I get my head down and I'm working, and I got my game face on. But we'll have our time together in Cleveland. I'll be out there soon, man.
You bet. Look forward to seeing you.
You got it. Daryl Ruiter, he is Right or Wrong Fan out at the Fan in the land of Cleve, where they still play quality Major League Baseball. They just don't play football so well yet. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I got to give a shout out to our friends at Box Hill Pizzeria. The best crab cakes in Harford County can now be shipped anywhere. This is what I should do. I should torture a guy like Ruiter with my Pizza John's, which he can't get, with my Box Hill Pizzeria he can't get. All the good stuff he can't get. The big fat crab cakes up there in Abingdon. Go to Box Hill Pizzeria. They will ship said crab cakes to you anywhere you are. It's especially cool during the holidays, or if there's a birthday coming up or a special occasion for someone out of town. Surprise them with those delicious crab cakes. You'll be happy you did. Stop up and see them up there, Tommy, Chris, and the folks at Box Hill. They're renovating up there. So if you haven't been up there lately, they're building it bigger and better for you up in Harford County. Big shout out also to our friends at the Maryland Jockey Club. Cure the Winter Blues this weekend. They're racing at Laurel. If you noticed in the front of our WNST.net website, we have the Laurel entries as well as in our morning newspaper. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com. We deliver the morning newspaper digitally to you at 7 a.m. each and every morning. It's free of charge. You sign up once, you get it every morning. It's a good deal. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. We stream live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.